will.
Do we want to just jump right in or?
Yes.
Welcome to our first podcast.
Yay.
I can't believe we're here right now.
I also can't believe
because we've talked about this, I think dating back to December? What exactly is this podcast?
Okay, so I feel like you and I have had like good conversation, just the two of us.
Yeah.
And like I feel like sometimes we've had these moments like, there was some information in there that I feel like people would have liked to hear. And like just jokingly, we were like, we should have recorded that.
Yeah, that happens often. That happened last night.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I feel like that's one of the things that got like the idea of a podcast going in my head is, if we're having these like, in-depth conversations that we think are like beneficial to our relationship.
Yeah.
Maybe that's like a good benchmark for other people.
I feel like at the root of what makes our relationship so successful is effective communication. The title, which I really like, by the way.
Me too.
We matched online through a dating app.
Mm-hmm.
And what's come after is the now what, right? I guess.
Yeah. We are documenting the now what.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess to start off, we should probably tell the people a little bit about ourselves.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
No. No, okay, I'll go first. My name's Kyle. I haven't even introduced this yet.
That's right.
That's how new to this that we are.
Yeah, we're getting to it.
Yeah. So this is Abby, my beautiful girlfriend. I'm Kyle. We've been dating for almost a year now. I'm 30.
I am 27.
I don't even know where to start. Like, where do you think I should start here?
Okay. Why not start with like a little bit about what you do? No?
Yeah, we can do that.
Did I say a word?
I think so. No, it's fine. So I don't know. I feel like I'm in a spot right now where what I do for work is a little ambiguous.
And that's kind of why I want you to bring it up.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you had asked me like a year ago, even, I'd probably say like I was a graphic designer.
Yeah.
/ video editor, freelancer. Now I'm transitioning more into, I guess, like an entrepreneurial path where I'm looking to start my own businesses. And that's been like, I mean, as you know, it's been an experience, one that like I'm thankful for, and I'm glad that I'm doing. It's proven to have its challenges, but at the same time, I feel like I've never really been happier pursuing this passion.
From like an outside perspective, I'm going to say like Kyle has so many great ideas, and to have come into his life at a point where he's like taken those ideas and kind of and brought them into the world in some way, shape, or form, and he's just getting started. Like I'm very fortunate to be a part of that.
Thank you. That was very sweet. And I'm sure I'll get into like, the businesses that I'm trying to pursue or currently pursuing, and then also the ones that like I'm looking to pursue in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe in this episode, maybe in like future episodes. I feel like in this episode, kind of just want to give like a quick synopsis of like us, and then dive into like specific stories or experiences.
Yeah.
Depending on like the topic, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's
it for you.
I mean, I think so. Do you think there's anything else that I should include, or?
I mean, that's good for now. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
Right? Episodes down the line, I'm sure.
So, Abby.
Hi, I'm Abby. So
what are you up to?
What have I been up to?
Yeah.
So I'm currently a student. I'm finishing my undergrad. My major is in psychology, doing a minor in biology and political science. And I'm just wrapping that up, so I'm really excited about that.
Yep. You have one more course left.
I have one more course left.
Yep.
So excited.
Yeah, me too.
I also, since meeting Kyle, I think like Kyle has like allowed me to explore more of the ideas I've had.
Yes.
In creating and working on like personal independent projects.
Yep.
I guess like what I want to say next about myself is like a good segue into the rest of what we want to talk about in this video. But
yeah.
So I'm 27. I started dating when I was 25, and that was like mid-pandemic. Not mid-pandemic now, but like a good...
Kind of toward the beginning, really. Like 2020, no? Early 2020? Or?
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah. So by mid-pandemic, I mean, we were established in a pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
We're in it.
Yeah. But not timeline-wise. Yeah, it was, I think if the pandemic, like the lockdown started in March, I started dating, like online dating in May.
Yeah.
For a timeline. So kind of late to the game by a lot of people's standards, kind of not.
But I think like that's kind of the point, right?
Yeah.
Like you entered the dating game when you were ready.
Yes.
Right.
Like that's one of the things that Kyle and I have talked about a few times now is like removing ourselves from like standards of society, whether that be like the general society you're in,
even friends.
Yeah. So
right?
it could be like smaller groups too. Like micro groups, like your family, friends, you know, the people you see online that you want to be just like.
Yeah. I really like your eye contact, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah. I think the first like 3 minutes I didn't even acknowledge there was a camera.
You know what? They're a fly on the wall. I mean, I'll look occasionally, but
yeah. But yeah, I want to bring that up, that I like dating was one of those things where so like I'm Pakistani, and like that's not really like it's like here or there, you know, like women date like here or there.
Do you want to talk about your parents?
Yeah, so my parents, I don't want to like generalize too much. I don't want to say like, you know, Pakistani women can't date. They can, but it's not common. It's not heard of in the community I was brought up in.
Yeah.
My parents had an arranged marriage, like the strictest definition of an arranged marriage.
Yep.
It was like distant family members bringing them together. They were in 2 different countries. My mom was in Pakistan. My dad was in Canada. And then met, like they were engaged before they met in person.
Yep.
Then when they met in person, it was like within days they were married. So I grew up with a very interesting, I guess like genesis to this family. Like that family started in such a way that was very unique to like the way I grew up in North America.
Absolutely. Yeah. Probably very unique, in comparison to your friends at the time, probably.
Yeah. Because I was born and raised in Canada.
Yes.
So not a lot of my friends, I mean, I grew up in Mississauga.
Did you understand early on that your parents were the product of an arranged marriage? Was that something that they were open to you about? Like
it was, yeah. It was talked about a lot. Whether I understood it at the time, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it was talked about. Like it was, because it was kind of funny. It's like funny to reference, you know, marrying this stranger, and then in my mom's case, like move across the world. Yeah. By yourself. Yeah.
It's like wild when you say it, but it's like it's when it comes to the culture. Yeah. It's norm.
Yeah. Right? With the slight caveat of moving.
Right. That is
countries, right? Like that's
for
not
your mom. Like that was.
Sometimes I think about it. And I'm like, that's the bravest thing. She did that at like 24.
Yeah. I love your mom.
We love her. We love her. Yeah. She. Sometimes I think about how crazy that must have felt.
Yeah. Absolutely scary.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was something that was talked about. It wasn't like.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess why wouldn't it be, right? Because I assume, well, we've talked about it. I know.
Yeah.
That was something that like you probably thought, like, you know, culturally, like I'm probably going to end up in an arranged marriage as well. Yeah. Or is that incorrect? Like, how would you?
No, that's correct. I had older cousins who were getting married, and it was kind of not quite 50-50, but like maybe 60-40. Like, so like arranged marriage was still very common with my cousins, but then also dating was, I mean, the interesting thing is that you wouldn't talk about it necessarily. It's just like, you know, an engagement would roll around, and, you know, all of a sudden you'd find out like they were dating and they met someone, and that's the person they decided to marry. So it was very like hush hush if you dated, just in my personal experience with my families. But yeah, like both were viable options. It's just one was easier to navigate, and that's the arranged marriage. Yeah. There was like a very clear-cut way as to how I would go about that. Yeah. Dating was not clear-cut because no one would really talk about it. Right. I think I've told you, Kyle, that like up until the point I was like, I want to say like graduating high school, so like 19, I was like convinced I was going to get an arranged marriage. Yeah. I thought that's what I wanted. Yeah. I thought it'd be easier. I was at that point in my life, I was very uncertain about like romance and dating and loving people. Like I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what that meant in like outside of just like a family dynamic or a friend dynamic. Like those were the only relationships I was really familiar with. Yeah. So at 19, when you don't know that aspect of a relationship, So yeah, up until like 19, I was pretty sure I was going to get an arranged marriage, and I can't really figure out what changed my mind.
But at some point, you did decide that you didn't want to pursue that route.
I think it was more I wanted the option.
Right.
Even when I first considered dating, I didn't necessarily like totally rule out an arranged marriage.
Right.
I just wanted the option of looking for both. Because like arranged marriages, like I'm also Christian, right? So arranged marriages don't follow like they've become more modern in recent years.
Yeah.
So an arranged marriage is like in my family, you still get to know the person.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're just like engaged earlier on. There's like a very specific commitment. Like the timeline's very specific.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm not opposed to it. I just didn't think it was going to be beneficial for me. And I can talk about that in future.
So we can, if you want, we can just jump back into like the moment when you decided that I'm going to start dating, right?
Let's do that. Yeah.
So when you started to date, and like, I mean, as you know, you can see in the title of this video, like the topic of today is dating apps or dating online.
Yeah.
And so it's safe to assume that like, that's where you started at 25, mid-pandemic.
Yeah.
You got on dating apps.
Yeah. I think my motivation behind that was, so my mom was married at 24.
Yeah. I
had just turned 25. And not to say things were looking bleak in terms of socializing with the pandemic, but uncertain for sure.
It's a good word. Yeah.
Yeah. And I all of a sudden felt like I didn't have time to waste, which, depending on who you are, like that could be a good motivation to get into something. It could also not be. To me, I think it was a good one. I think I needed a bit of a kick in the butt.
Yeah.
To try something that was kind of scary or like try something for the first time. I feel like that is some sort of motivation and time was one.
Yes.
So I was on the dating app that I only used one.
Should we talk
about it? I don't know.
I mean, sure.
Why not?
Yeah.
It was Bumble.
Yeah. Yeah. S tier dating app, in my opinion. Well, I feel like it was the right one for me, clearly. But anyway.
To be honest, so I didn't really try the other ones.
Yeah, I did. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't really like them. Just spit. No. Okay.
We're going to be that podcast.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, I was on there for a couple months. And how many months? May, June, July, August, I want to say.
Okay. So what was your opinion, like when you first got on the dating app, what was your experience like? Like, did you find it, actually, how about we dial it back a little bit?
Yeah.
Why did you decide to go down the route of dating apps?
To be honest, I think had it not been for the pandemic.
So you think the pandemic was like the driving force in that decision?
Yeah, I think so. Water break.
Lime water break.
Mm.
I feel like I need to go on a tangent. If you're somebody like me who struggles with drinking water due to the lack of flavor, I would suggest getting a bottle of lime or lemon juice, whatever your preference.
Yeah.
Just putting a little bit in the glass, and then is there something here? Oh,
no,
for
no,
you.
sorry.
There's an eyelash. I like you're trying to give me a hint. Like a little bit of lime juice, fill the cup up with water, and then there's like a little bit of flavor that just makes the experience of drinking water, at least for me, way better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and you kind of planted that seed because
I use like an actual lemon wedge.
Yes.
And I'll squirt it.
Whenever we go to restaurants, Abby's always like, "Can I get a water with a lemon wedge?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's me.
And I was like, me too.
That was me.
Yeah. Look at that. First podcast, first tangent. We're here.
Can't believe we're here. Yeah, actually, I mean, like, I feel like that's a good place to pause for me. Like, should we talk about your experience with going into dating and on a dating app?
Yeah. So I started dating at 25. I guess the reason that I waited so late, and this might have to do with just what I felt like me as a man had to bring to the table when it came to a relationship, was stability, a sense of direction. Prior to 25, like I didn't know what my life was going to look like. And it's funny because like, I feel like I'm kind of back in that state now, but I'm just much more comfortable with the unknown. Whereas back then, I don't think I was. So I was somebody that like knew that I wanted to be in a relationship, like a committed relationship, get married, but like it had to be at a point where like I was like financially, I feel like the financial part was a big aspect for it. So at 24, I guess I got my first like full-time, really solid job. Yeah. And when I say solid, I mean like solid pay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got this job, and after a year, I was like, you know what? Like I see myself here. I guess I was just like a general laborer, like / press assistant at a production plant that produced packaging, like plastic packaging for like foods, coffees, 12-hour shifts. I mean, I don't need to get into the specifics of the work, but after a year there and building up like my financial situation, if you will, I was like, okay, I'm gonna start dating. Now, I was just super thankful that online dating kind of became as prominent as it is now. Yeah. I feel like in a lot of ways, like if online dating never existed, like I don't know how I would have met somebody. Yeah. Right. I wasn't somebody that went out a lot. I had a hard time approaching like anybody, like men, women, like out and about, socializing with new people. I kind of was like the type of person, and still am in a lot of ways, that like I have my core group of friends and I kind of just stick within that box. Right. Yeah. So back when I was 25, I feel like most of the dating apps that exist now did not exist, or at least weren't as popular. Yeah. There was
one popular one at that time.
Which was?
Tinder.
Didn't use Tinder.
Oh, never mind.
I feel like Tinder, I felt like was, I had just heard the rumblings that it was a hookup app. Yeah. So I wasn't trying to do that. Like I was trying to get a relationship. So I ended up using, it wasn't an app, it was a website. I used match.com. Shout out to anybody who, and I had to pay for that. Yeah. Yeah. So I opted to use Match, and I thought it was great because you got to like, you know, filter through profiles and look at like, you know, people's jobs, like where they lived, their interests. Yeah. And it just made it easier for me to approach people, albeit virtually. Yeah. But it like knowing a little bit about somebody kind of gave me confidence to like pursue a conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because knowing where they are and like knowing where you are, it's easier for you to determine if that's like a viable option. Like, is that something could come out of that? Yeah. Versus like when you're just meeting people out in the open. Yeah. Granted, I guess I was actually thinking about this, knowing that this was like our first, like the topic for our first podcast episode. So I was thinking about it more, and I wondered, what would I do had there not been a pandemic and I didn't go with online dating? Yeah. I don't actually know what I would do, because I've been asked out maybe like a handful of times in person, and I've always just been like, it's always just been at a point in time where I wasn't ready to date yet. Yeah. Like early 20s to 25, like that 5 years, like again, a handful of times. And I always just said I wasn't ready to date because I wasn't at that point. Yeah. And so I've never been in a situation where I was actually like ready to date. Someone had asked me out, and then I had to think of, I either had to agree or disagree based on what also. Yeah. Like what do you make that decision of? Like, is it just solely physical appearance? Yeah. Is it their opening line? Like,
when you meet somebody in person, like a stranger in person, you kind of have to go through that surface level introduction. And I feel like you don't really get you don't always get like a lot of information from that, right? Yeah. Like with online dating, it's like, I can see that you're interested in biking or movies, or I can see that you've traveled somewhere. So I prefer it when I can use that information to like ask a targeted question.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I see that you went to like insert country here.
Yeah.
Like, how was that experience? What was your favorite part about it? You know what I mean? Whereas like when you meet a stranger, like at a bar, I always just like think about like, that's how people meet, like at a bar. Like, it's not always true, but
it's not, no, but I just want to like give kudos to like the people who, I mean, first of all, the generations before us where that was the norm.
Yeah.
Like you either met people in like bars, clubs, restaurants, maybe, like friends of friends, family, work, school. There's really only a handful of ways to do it. And then you're limited on who you're meeting.
Yeah.
So yeah, just based on like the kind of person I am, and I guess what you're alluding to, the kind of person you are, dating apps were just like a great option to, it was like that there was this nice baby step or stepping stone before meeting a person where you could build up some sort of like expectation. Yeah. And it wasn't crazy. You don't have like this crazy expectation meeting them, but you go in with an expectation that they're meeting what their profile says. Yeah. And then you can kind of, it helps you navigate that first date.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then even the conversation beforehand.
Yeah.
Like I was someone who took like initial conversation very seriously on the dating app. Yeah. Yeah. Like I've been on 2 first dates and it was like, there was always like a good amount of conversation prior. Yeah. Like that's a green flag for me. Yes. Anything else, I think 2 weeks was like my minimum. Yeah. 2 weeks of conversation. That was my minimum. And then if anything short of that, well, I mean, so we actually had a funny start.
We did.
It was not a straight path.
No.
For Kyle and I. It was we took a detour.
Do you want to save this?
We can, yeah.
Maybe like, I did want to talk about, like, now that we're kind of on the topic of why we like dating apps, like what are some of the, some of the other pros? So like one that we just talked about was like,
getting to know.
You get more information, right? Like the barrier of like having to like go up to somebody like in real life. Yeah. Like say hello, like go through that surface level conversation that is now removed, right? Yeah. You still obviously have to introduce yourself virtually in the dating apps, but now you get to choose who you pursue. Yeah. Based off of the things that they write about themselves, right? And I think that's huge. Like, is there anything else? I mean, with Bumble, should we talk about like why we like Bumble?
Why Bumble? That was kind of a recommendation to me being a woman. Because I guess like Bumble is the only app, maybe not anymore, but at the time it was the only app where like women got like the opportunity to reach out first. Yes. It was like the ball was in their court. Yes. What I liked about that is friends warned me about like online dating is like that initial message you get like could be very inappropriate. Yeah. Yeah. Very unsolicited. Yeah. And Bumble kind of, I imagine that was their intention, was to remove that. That's initially what my initial thoughts are, what I first liked on the dating app. What did you like on Bumble?
I liked it for the same reason. I mean, I think that's why most people go to Bumble is because the woman has to make the first move. Because that in and of itself was kind of like a filtration
process
for me. Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to see how creative people would get or how much effort they would put into it. So if somebody just said like, hey to me or hi or the bare minimum, like that to me was...
It's not a great indication for a first impression.
Exactly. Yeah. I knew that I was able to put in effort into my messages. I just wanted to see like,
You wanted someone who's going to match your energy.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I guess as far as like dating apps as a whole go, one of the other benefits or pluses is the filtration system, right? Yeah. Where you can filter by religion, area, interests. The list goes on.
Whether they like dogs.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's something that I know a lot of people use, but I know that like not everybody uses. And I feel like the reason why they're so beneficial is because it narrows down the pool of people who are more of a suitable match to you. Yeah. Right. The less information you provide about yourself, the wider the
dating pool.
The range may be, but at the same time, it's like, is more like ambiguous options better than fewer targeted options? Yeah. I would don't think so.
Yeah. Those fewer targeted ones are more likely to lead somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. And it saves you time, right? Like, even though you may not get as many matches, the people that you are interacting with are more suitable for you.
Yeah. And the thing I want to add on to that is like getting on a dating app initially and getting all of those matches right off the bat.
Yeah.
Like that can be like super validating.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
a lot of dopamine.
Yeah.
A lot of dopamine.
And it's easy to get caught up in that, but that is not productive to finding that single relationship.
No, because that's instant gratification, right?
Yeah.
Which, like, I feel like a lot of people are used to getting or might subconsciously
love getting.
Yeah.
I think like everyone loves it to some degree.
Yeah.
It's just like,
it feels good.
Is it productive?
Yeah. Like, oh, somebody likes me, or I'm talking to somebody that, like, you know, is interested.
It's a bit of an ego boost.
It is. Yeah.
But, like it's just not conducive. I had to remind myself, after a couple of weeks or like a month on the app that, you know, like it's nice to know that there's like a handful of men out there who like are interested, but like first and foremost, it's very superficial. It's based off of an image, or a couple of images, and then the fact that you may have some things in common.
Right.
And then the other thing is too, is like, I realized that I was wasting time by trying to appeal to like a larger group of men. You have all these options, like, sure, you have options. That sounds great. But is it actually productive? Is it going to get you to that one person that you're trying to meet?
Because that's the goal.
That's the goal, yeah.
You're trying to find one person.
Yeah, right? Out of all of them. So like, you just really want to like be comfortable with being yourself.
Yeah.
And then just stay focused on, no matter how many people don't like that about you.
Yeah.
Or don't like things about you, just stay focused and just keep plowing through until you find, plowing through feels like the wrong word. But just keep going on that path. Powering through.
Yeah.
Until you find the one person you do like.
Yeah.
And that likes you for you.
Yeah.
And then that's the person you are, like, you're going to spend the rest of your life with. I feel like that's the most rewarding outcome.
Yeah. What are some of the downsides of dating apps?
Oh, wait, no. Can I say another thing I liked? What I like about dating apps is you immediately know that the community on dating apps, everybody is single and pursuing something out in the real world. I feel like I've heard that that's one of the things that like hinders people from approaching someone is not knowing what their status is.
Yes.
First
and there's no way of knowing.
There's no way of knowing.
Unless you ask, right?
You really do just have to, and it takes guts. It takes guts to walk up to someone. Sometimes
it's too much for somebody. Like, I know it was too much for my ego. I was so afraid of that rejection.
Yeah.
That I could never really see myself doing that like on a consistent basis, let alone like even once.
Yeah.
You know?
And actually, now that I'm thinking about it too, wherever you are when you go to approach someone, like that plays a very big role. Like there's so many hindrances in real world situations, right? Like if a girl's with a bunch of her friends.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like I don't remember what the statistic is, but they're less likely or more likely to say, I think less likely.
It's like going to the lion's den.
Yeah, they're less likely to say yes. You know, if, you know, a girl's family is nearby or, you know, whatever it may be, like for men too, I'm sure there's certain places in the world where if they're approached, they're just kind of turned off by that idea.
It's funny because I feel like the opposite is true for men when it comes to being around their friends. I feel like if a man is around like a bunch of his guy friends, like he's probably more likely to like say yes to going out.
Yeah.
If he was approached by a woman.
Yeah.
Because of that like abundance of testosterone around him.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like there's so many factors in the real world that can determine whether or not approaching someone's actually going to like have that desired outcome or not.
Yeah.
Whereas on the dating app, you're not, it could happen, I think, just based on like the mood the person's in.
Yeah.
But it's very limited.
Yeah.
Right. It's really limited to what that person wants at that time.
Yeah.
And that's less influenced by external factors, I think.
Right.
Also knowing that like once you've matched with someone, very superficial level, albeit, but you know that there's a level of attraction there.
Right.
And that feeling of rejection is less.
Yeah.
Which I think it's just easier to stay in the dating game.
Yes.
Whereas I think personally, if I were someone, I mean, also being a woman, it's kind of like hit or miss as to like whether or not it's attractive to be the first one to make the move or not.
Mm-hmm.
I just know personality wise, I was not inclined to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I was not inclined to make the first move, but if I were and I was rejected, I'm pretty sure it would take me out of the dating game for like a month.
Fair point.
It'd be a long time before I can work up the guts to do that again.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people their advice to people who are dating would be like, just have to kind of build that confidence.
Right.
I agree with that, but I just think it's faster to do it.
Right.
Like on a dating app.
Yes. We transition now into so what are some of the downsides? One of them that kind of jumps out to me is that like there's a lack of accountability.
Especially like prior to getting to know somebody in person.
Yes, exactly.
Not knowing that much about them, where they live. Like that sounds creepy, but you know what I mean? Like just the fact that the person can ghost you and be an actual ghost.
Yes.
Zero way of contacting them, zero way of knowing them. That takes away accountability. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's a great topic to kind of start with is like ghosting is rampant on dating apps where, I mean, I'm sure everybody knows what ghosting is, but for those that may not, ghosting is essentially when you're talking to somebody and then they just never respond.
Yeah, they disappear.
And this is like when you've been communicating with them. This isn't just like you send one and they don't respond. I don't consider that ghosting.
I don't consider that ghosting either. Yeah. It's a couple messages in at least.
Yeah. Let's say I was single, right? With the perspective that I have now, I feel like I would approach communication a lot differently because I believe in effective communication and I don't think ghosting is effective communication. Yeah. I mean, it's effective in the sense that it gets a message across, but it's not respectful, right? In my opinion.
And then here's the thing too, the only message it gets across is that the person isn't interested, but there's so much subtext that isn't communicated.
Exactly.
Right? Yes. Like, why were you interested? And I
feel like when you start talking to somebody, when you have a conversation with somebody and it gets past that, hey, how are you? Like, that surface level, like introduction.
Yeah.
If you're not interested in somebody by that point, like just let them know.
Just say it. Yeah.
You might get an array of responses to that, but at the end of the day, you're being honest. And that's something that like, even if somebody takes it poorly, if I get ghosted by somebody who I had been talking to for like a couple of days, it would suck, right? Because it's like, well, what happened? Like a lot of the times it's not even that they aren't interested anymore, but maybe their attention was like grabbed by somebody new. And I feel like that's another one of the problems is that there's this sea of options, right? Yeah. It's like a paradox of choice.
Oh yeah. Psychologically speaking, there's no end to that.
That's the problem, right? Is that like, it's a loop. It's a constant search.
Yeah. And that the initial parts of a relationship are always the most exciting. I think like that people have talked about this like fairly often at this point, but people think like that initial stage of excitement is the feeling you're chasing, or like that's what you want in your relationship is you constantly want that.
Yeah. And it's supposed to last indefinitely.
The duration. Yeah. Like the perfect relationship will have that forever.
Which
is not the case. It's actually just like, I believe like just adrenaline from a new situation. And
it's like, oh, this person who like doesn't even know me, like is giving me attention and like they like what they see or have read about me.
And you're getting hit with information probably about them that you really like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, he's got a dog. I love dogs, Yeah. He's got like whatever your standards, maybe your requirements meet, right? Maybe the check boxes that you have, if he's ticking them off at the beginning, that like feeling it's a great feeling. It's exciting. And you're like, oh, like, I think I'm doing it. Like I'm finally getting, or, they're really funny initially.
Right.
And anyways, like the problem is that like that feeling only lasts at a certain point, a certain amount of time. Eventually the novelty of this person will go away.
Yes.
And if you're chasing that feeling because you think it means something else, like it means a successful relationship, it means chemistry, it means the ideal relationship. If you think that feeling, that's what that feeling is communicating, then you're going to keep doing it because it's actually all that means is that you're just currently in a novel situation.
What advice would you give somebody who is pursuing a relationship and is opting to use dating apps to achieve that?
Okay, yeah. So first and foremost, it is that personality type. If you are an introvert, I feel like dating apps are a good, like, give them a try. The other thing is if you are fairly certain as to what you're looking for, because like those filter options are super helpful. But then again, like even if you're not certain as to what you're looking for, you just don't have to filter your matches. And you can leave your match options open, but like filter your own profile.
I feel like it's a good idea to know what you're looking for and stick to that, right?
Yeah. Like there is a space for people who aren't looking for committed relationships.
Yeah.
Like just be honest about that.
Yes.
There are other people who are also not looking for committed relationships.
Yes.
And y'all can vibe together.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It just saves you and the people that you interact with time. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand that it's not always easy to be straightforward, but I feel like it's the respectful thing to do. Right.
Yeah. It's always nice to kind of just treat people the way you'd want to be treated in return.
Yeah.
Like if you've been ghosted and it sucks, maybe don't ghost other people. Like, I feel like you're gonna hurt somebody regardless.
Yeah.
Just giving someone like that explanation, like either way is gonna hurt. At least it's constructive.
Yeah.
If someone actually like gives you an explanation as opposed to ghosting you, recognize they could have ghosted you first and foremost, and second of all, you don't really need their whatever they didn't like about you. You didn't need them to like it about you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if someone didn't like, if I came off as like not funny, and the person was like, look, I don't think we're gonna be a match because like our sense of humors don't align. Sense of humors don't align. Sense of humor does not align.
I mean, I got it. Yeah, the first time.
I think that was grammatically incorrect, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't need that person to find me funny. But, you know, you just stay true to that sense of humor because it's who you are. And then eventually you'll find somebody who does find you funny.
Yeah.
So when people do give you a reason as to why they don't think you're going to be a match, don't take it. It's hard to hear, but like, don't take it as, it's not really offensive. It's literally just facts. It's facts that you two weren't meant to, you know, vibe together, but that's fine. Like there's someone out there you're going to vibe with. So
respect the honesty, you know?
Yeah.
Respect the honesty.
Yeah. It's just part of the game. It's part of the dating game is to be rejected sometimes. And that's hard.
Yeah.
But
rejection sucks, right? Like I don't like, and people handle it differently, but nobody wants to be rejected.
Yeah. I've handled being rejected way better than I've handled being ghosted.
Same.
Because it's just, it closes the book and you just move on from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
However long it may take you, but at least it's a closed book and you can move on.
Yeah.
I don't really know I feel like I got lost in my explanations. I don't know what advice I've given so far. Appreciate honesty and not being ghosted. Don't take the honesty too personally. We've talked about using filters to kind of like narrow your matches.
Yeah. Put effort in. Like if you're looking for a relationship, put the effort in to...
Yeah, that narrative of like playing cool or playing hard to get.
Yeah, be honest. Like,
I don't think there's room for that on the dating app. I think people on dating apps have already... Like they're over that.
Yeah.
They're either too old or they've been in the game for too long and they kind of just want to speed the process up. Yeah. So there's a difference between being like super desperate and being interested.
Like you can tell somebody that, you know, you're looking for marriage and not come off like, oh, like this guy's looking to get married now. It's not the case. Yeah,
it's not now. Yeah. It's just like the end goal. Yeah.
That's like, this is somebody who knows where they want to end up. Right. And that's totally cool and respectable. And like, that's one of the things that like, I think we appreciated about each other was like right out of the gate. Like we, we're able to talk about the things that we were looking for. Yeah.
Can I actually like a funny story that you just reminded me of?
Please do. Yeah.
So like I'm Christian. So I put that on the dating app on like my profile. I was Christian and I was always I was pleased to match with people who were also Christian because I was like, I thought that meant like, oh, we'll have something in common.
Yeah.
But this was early on the app. So I didn't want to come off too strong. And I was trying to play it cool and not seem too invested or too committed. And so this guy who was Christian like asked, what are your views on marriage? And I think I said, I was like, oh, I don't want to get married anytime soon, but like maybe like eventually or something. I said, I basically implied that I wasn't looking for it at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, because I was 25, I wasn't looking for marriage at the time.
Yeah.
And he responded that like that wasn't really what he was looking for, and so he was passing up. And it wasn't so the fact that he was moving on necessarily that bothered me, but I did try and like justify what I said because as like I didn't mean like I didn't want to get married ever.
Yeah.
But like I don't really remember how he interpreted or whatever. But my point is that like if I was being honest and true to myself, I should have answered that question with like, yeah, like marriage is the end game.
Yeah.
And playing it cool suggested that might not be the end game for me.
Yeah.
And his response was, I kind of want to be like, I want to talk to people who are like, marriage is the end game.
You trying to play it cool alluded to that. Like you were either unsure or uncertain.
Yeah.
Or not like, fully committed to the idea of marriage, right?
So.
Which you were. But
which I was, yeah.
Which you actually were, yeah.
Because when he said the end result of a relationship should be married, I was like, yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
I just didn't think it was going to be,
yeah,
at 25.
Yeah.
It was very hard to communicate it. But my point is that I wasn't by playing cool, I wasn't necessarily being honest as to what I was looking for.
Exactly.
Because I was concerned that what I was looking for would come across as not be like chill. That's not a chill response.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, that was my 2 cents there is I gave someone the wrong idea or the wrong impression because I was concerned what I actually wanted was
too strong?
Coming on too strong.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do that. You want to stay true to yourself. But yeah, I feel like we've covered our advice there.
Yeah. That's it. That's episode 1 in the books. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, we really appreciate it. We hope that you enjoyed listening to us.
Mm-hmm. Want to make this a weekly thing?
Is going to be a weekly thing. How we're kind of formatting it now is like each episode, we're just going to be talking about like a topic. I know. So this one was dating apps.
Yep. Next
week, we'll be talking about boundaries, why we think they're important, setting boundaries, how to set them, because maybe people don't know how to set boundaries.
Yeah, right? Exactly. And I feel like boundaries is a big buzzword going around the dating community.
Yeah.
But what that means for each couple can be different.
Until next week, we love your socks. And this is Abby and Kyle out.
Signing off.
Yeah.